Thank you for joining us for some of the best reporting on KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Coming up, who should pay for parking at Balboa Park and how much? Some city leaders say locals deserve a discount if new fees are approved. Serving families in rural San Diego County. See how Feeding San Diego is partnering with the Mountain Empire School District. And a new international travel option. A direct flight to Europe aims to bring more tourists and their dollars to San Diego. And we start with mental health workers for Kaiser Permanente. They returned to work on Friday after a months-long strike. Their union is calling it the longest work stoppage of its kind in U.S. history. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco has an update on the deal and reaction from patients who have been waiting for this news.
After nearly 7 months on strike, about 300 Kaiser Permanente mental health workers in San Diego are returning to work this week under a new 4-year contract. The contract was ratified following extensive negotiations, a hunger strike, and intervention from Governor Gavin Newsom, who urged both parties to engage in mediation. Former union president Sal Rosselli says the strike brought major changes for patient care.
Full-time therapists are guaranteed 5 hours a week to take care of many issues that patients need outside of therapy, where today folks are guaranteed no time, and it's like session to session to session.
It also includes 20% raises over 4 years, a defined benefit pension plan, and a $2,500 ratification bonus. But Rosselli says Kaiser still pays mental health clinicians up to 50% less than other medical staff with similar training.
We were trying to accomplish some steps to bridge that gap, but we're not successful. So we're taking another shot at it with the legislature.
Kaiser's absence from a special Assembly Health Committee hearing Tuesday on its behavioral health services only added to growing frustrations.
So Chair Assemblywoman Mia Bonta, we're reading a 2-page letter that Kaiser sent. Instead of coming to answer the questions of these legislature, just, rolled it up.
Is this to me?
For Kaiser therapist Jim Clifford, the strike came with emotional and financial costs.
It's been a difficult, long 6-month strike. Been difficult for us and for our patients, but we felt that we had no alternative.
Kaiser patient Christina Griffin-Jones says she's looking forward to connecting with her regular therapist on their next appointment.
The people who were being contracted in place of the workers who were on strike, they were strangers. And again, having to explain what you're going through, how you're feeling.
In a statement, Kaiser says it looks forward to welcoming its mental health teams back to work. Union leaders say they'll keep pushing legislation aimed at holding Kaiser accountable and closing the pay gap between mental and physical health care. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Heidi DeMarco is our health reporter at KPBS. She has several stories on the mental health strike in recent months, and you can find that coverage and more of her work at kpbs.org and the KPBS YouTube page. In one San Diego neighborhood, a set of secret stairs was a place of art, history, and gathering until last year's floods left the stairs in disrepair. KPBS reporter Caterina Portela says after months of waiting for help from the city, neighbors got a cleanup organized. Yet the flood's impacts remain.
In a pocket of southeast San Diego lies a quiet neighborhood called Valencia Park. Nestled within is something that many may miss: the secret stairs. According to neighbors' oral history, it began decades ago as a dirt trail. But in varying local legends, it became a symbol of young love. In the story, a man walked along the trail every day after work, picking poppies to bring to his wife. Eventually, stairs were built, and they became well used by the community, to be known as the Valencia Park Secret Stairs.
I used to walk these stairs to go to Morris High School. Rather than going around this way, I would take here and sometimes shoot up this way.
Barry Pollard is a longtime resident and head of the Urban Collaborative Project, a community nonprofit that launched a beautification project for the stairs in 2022.
We came up one time and just looked and said, this would not look like this if we were in La Jolla.
Pollard gathered a team of local artists and community members who painted a mural featuring the legendary poppies. He said it was a powerful way to bring the community together.
They came out, they pitched in, so it was really a good community building sort of effort.
Griffin Taylor moved to Valencia Park in 2023. He soon discovered the stairs and made them a treasured feature of his daily walks. But then came the devastating flood that hit the area in January of 2024. Neighbors say a river of rain ran through their backyards as street drains clogged up. The force of the water caused fences to collapse and a mudslide to flood into the stairway.
I drove to work the next day and it was like destruction. It wasn't just like, oh, it rained and there was a little flooding. It was like, the fences were falling over. There was debris everywhere.
As the neighborhood slowly recovered from the flood, Taylor and others grew increasingly disheartened with the lack of effort on the city's part to repair the stairs.
And so that made me frustrated to think, like, here I am in this neighborhood that's historically Black and that is, has been unattended to, that this community's needs are not being addressed.
Community members complained to San Diego City Councilman Henry Foster, who represents Valencia Park. Foster said the ultimate responsibility for the stairs maintenance lies with Mayor Todd Gloria. Gloria spokeswoman Rachel Lang told KPBS that a city community engagement specialist reviewed the complaints. They determined that because the debris came from property along the stairs, it was actually the property owners who were responsible for the cleanup. But residents and others dispute this. They say the city's failure to keep drains from clogging caused the flood in the first place. In late April, Pollard and other local leaders rallied neighbors to use Earth Day as an opportunity to clear debris. A representative from Foster's office who helped with the cleanup told property owners to reach out to FEMA for help. Tina Zaidan is one of the property owners. Her fence collapsed onto the stairs during the flood. She reached out to FEMA, but her claim was denied.
So then I went to the city and was like, hey, the only reason this happened was because the storm drain was clogged, and that was April of last year, and now it's a year later, and I just heard back saying that they denied the claim with no explanation.
She looked into fixing it on her own and was met with staggering costs.
The quotes I got were upwards of $150,000, and I was like, well, obviously we can't just afford that, so we need help to do that, especially because it wasn't our fault.
Residents and advocates say the stairs are a cautionary tale that speaks to the lack of city maintenance in the area.
I feel like it makes our neighborhood look worse than it is. Like, why can't it be maintained and used in a way for public access for everybody to be able to use it and walk their dogs the way that we used to be able to do?
Thanks to the community's hard work, the secret stairs are back, for now. And going forward, we'll continue to depend on the kindness of neighbors. Katerina Portela, KPBS News.
San Diego city leaders are looking for ways to boost revenue to provide local services. One idea is to charge parking fees at one of the city's biggest attractions. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains some of the options.
Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed budget includes $11 million in revenue from paid parking in Balboa Park. City officials say they are considering keeping free parking in some parts of the park while charging for the most high-demand lots. Still, the proposal is controversial.
Our public parks are the last escape for people on a budget to enjoy the assets that have been endowed to us by generations before. To create more barriers for the community under the guise that tourists will eat the cost doesn't take a real view of year-round usage by everyone who calls this area home.
Michael Zucchett is head of the Municipal Employees Association, the largest union of city workers. He told the city council on Monday that visitors should pay a higher parking rate than residents.
The model that we have at our municipal golf courses, where residents pay one fee and non-residents pay a fee that is 2 or 3 times as much, is a good model and should be thought of as we embark upon these fees.
Those comments were echoed by Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera, who says the city needs to focus its search for new revenues, not on residents, but visitors.
We have not squeezed all the juice that there is to squeeze out of San Diego being not just one of the premier tourist destinations in the country, but also what is essentially the playground for the rest of the region.
The council will vote on the mayor's budget in June. Then later in the year, take a separate vote on whether to implement paid parking in Balboa Park. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
For the last few months, we've been reporting on the effect of tariffs in San Diego County. Even with a 90-day pause on many items, businesses are still on edge because of uncertainty about the future. John Carroll tells us about one huge part of the county's economy where there's not much anxiety yet.
It's kind of like a quilt, you know, all the squares. We don't have one chunk. It's kind of a patchwork.
Fourth-generation farmer Andy Lyle telling me which part of the lush Palma Valley below is his family's farm. The scene is illustrative of much of San Diego County's agricultural landscape. Down on the farm, his family actually calls it a ranch, Lyle talks about the crops he and his family have grown here for decades.
Citrus, oranges, mandarins are probably about 80%. Maybe 90% of our acreage here, and about 10% avocados.
The Lyle operation encompasses about 200 acres, rows of trees heavy with fruit. Andy Lyle loves what he does.
I love when I give my friends some of our oranges or avocados, and they're like, that's the best orange I've ever had, or that's the best avocado I've ever had, or orange juice, or whatever it is. It's I love that. I love being able to produce good, nutritious, safe food for people.
But against this bucolic background, there is concern in the farming community.
There's a lot of unknowns, particularly because of the 90-day pause now that was imposed.
Dana Groot is the president of the San Diego County Farm Bureau. He's talking about the T word, tariffs.
The feeling among the farming community is kind of a wait-and-see attitude.
Part of the reason there's not the same level of anxiety as at other non-agricultural businesses is farmers have been through this before.
This is not the first go-around for San Diego County farmers. We had some experience with tariffs under Trump's first presidency, and there were consequences for some of the growers, particularly exporting to Canada.
Back in the Lyle orange groves, what Groot describes, the wait-and-see attitude, is the order of the day.
Because I don't really know how it's going to play out. I think ultimately, I think it's important that we have food security here in the United States, that we have American farmers producing food for American people first.
Still, Groot says there is reason to be concerned.
On the troubling side, of course, is input costs may increase, whether it's packaging, plastic materials perhaps from China, or fertilizer inputs could increase dramatically. On the export markets, we're not too concerned about Mexico. Canada later in the growing season might be an issue. Again, a lot remains to be seen.
When it comes to agriculture in San Diego County, far and away the #1 product is bedding plants, perennials, color. Think flowers in general. They're pretty much tariff-proof because they pretty much stay in the United States. Not so with avocados and citrus.
Lyle is fortunate, though. He leaves the sale of his product to others. He says the folks who market his fruit learned from the last go-round.
They've done a really good job of finding more of a domestic market and just some other options so that we're not surprised by tariffs.
And there's something else, something that's ingrained in farmers across the country.
Farmers as a group tend to be a little more accustomed to variables that are not within their control. So it's perhaps a little less of a stress for them because it's always kind of a wait and see.
As the agricultural community waits to see what will happen with tariffs, one important data point to keep in mind. Agriculture is the fourth largest economic driver in this county at nearly $1.2 billion a year. Groot says if you count the services that depend on agriculture, it's more than $4 billion. Lots of reasons to wait and see and hope that if they come, tariffs don't tarnish one of San Diego County's economic crown jewels. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Sign up for our newsletters to get a list of our most popular stories. And here are some from this week. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren wants the Marines to pause a contract with Oceanside-based Front Wave Credit Union following a KPBS investigation. What's one fix for coastal railroad tracks in North County? Try 7,700 tons of boulders, and a San Diego nonprofit auctions off a rare set of Italian cookbooks. Many families in East County are living in food deserts, meaning that they lack access to healthy food. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says a school food pantry in Boulevard is responding to that problem by sending food home with kids who take the school bus.
The Mountain Empire Unified School District covers more than 650 square miles in southeast San Diego County. More than 60% of the district's students are eligible for free or reduced price meals. Hannah Hong has 2 kids in the district. She says grocery shopping here can be a challenge.
We have just 2 or 3 liquor stores and then one small grocery market. And it's kind of isolated mountainside area. So it takes like at least 30 minutes to get out and get a food.
Fresh produce is scarce, and it's usually more expensive than it would be in West San Diego County.
It's hard to come by. A lot of times it's damaged and stuff by the time you do get it because it has to be shipped from down to town. So by the time it gets up here, it's pretty messed up.
In Boulevard, students and their parents can now pick up food at Clover Flat Elementary School. Feeding San Diego has put on a school food pantry there twice a month since November. At their other school pantries, parents get the food when they pick up their kids from school. In this district, 97% of the kids take school buses. That means the amount of food they can take home is limited by what they can carry.
Coming out to a school that really relies on transportation, we have to look at ways to make sure the kids who are going to bring that food home can take it in an accessible manner, because it can be upwards of 24 pounds of fresh produce and dry goods, which can be a lot for a little one.
Along with fresh produce, they try to provide prepackaged food that doesn't require much cooking, since the area deals with frequent power outages.
The kids were very happy about the little macaroni and cheeses because they're so adorable in the little boxes and the fruit cups.
Over the last 6 months, they figured out how to best distribute food to students before they take the bus home. Gary Brannon is the district's director of student services.
They do a really good job by bringing kids out of the classroom on a one-by-one basis. They're able to select what they want, figure out what they can carry, and then they go back to their class.
The district serves multiple unincorporated communities and reservations. Brannon says the food pantry is one of many ways schools are acting as community hubs.
It lets people know that this is a place you can come for support, whether it's food or education or other services or referrals to other things. We are here to support our whole community. It's beyond just taking care of the kids, it's taking care of our community.
Clover Flat Elementary is one of 2 rural schools with Feeding San Diego food pantries. There are more than 60 others in the county and more schools on the wait list. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
The opioid abuse crisis in America goes hand in hand with a crisis of chronic pain, and finding alternatives to opioid medication is not easy. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge spoke with 2 people who are looking for other ways to provide relief.
About 10 years ago, Ana Moreno was a PhD student at UC San Diego when she had a free Sunday night and did what some serious students do. She started reading science papers.
I came across a paper that talked about these people in Pakistan, street performers that could, walk on fire, do different performances with no pain whatsoever. And when they studied these people, they actually found that they have a mutation in their genome.
That story was the spark that led Moreno to try to imagine a gene therapy that would relieve chronic pain. Her personal life also inspired her. She remembers her vivacious aunt and godmother from when she was growing up in Mexico. Her aunt came down with trigeminal neuralgia, a nerve disorder that causes an intense stabbing pain to the head and the face.
I saw my aunt become, she was the life of the party. She went from that to someone that was, always in pain. And it's induced by eating, by chewing, so there's no quality of life.
Moreno has founded a company called Navega Therapeutics to commercialize and test her patented gene therapy. She says it has shown good results in mice. Human clinical trials are 12 months away. In this treatment, you inject the shell of a virus into the body that carries a protein that changes gene expression. It turns off part of the DNA that allows pain impulses to travel along channels that lead to the brain.
And these sodium channels open and close depending on pain. So when they open, it's like an electrical shock, kind of like turning on the light. You start seeing this electrical signal. For example, when you touch something hot, it starts here. The sodium channel, the ion exchange goes through your arm, through your back to your brain. That's how you feel the pain. So we can turn it off in the spinal level, depending on where your pain is located.
Moreno began working on this pain relief model when the opioid addiction crisis started ramping up 10 years ago. Chronic pain and opioid use are part of my story also. Almost 20 years ago, I was in a serious traffic accident where I suffered traumatic brain injury. Ever since then, I've had chronic pain in the lower part of my body. I've tried lots of different ways to try to ease that pain: acupuncture, chiropractic, cannabis. But the only thing that really worked, and it worked every time, was opioid medication.
First of all, I'm sorry to hear of your pain and suffering, and you're not alone. There's so many people in this country going through this.
I spoke with Eric Garland, a professor in psychiatry at UC San Diego at the Sanford Institute for Empathy and Compassion.
And some people do quite well on the opioid. And there are other folks who, over time, because of side effects or because of the natural tolerance that develops to the drug, they may find that they're not getting the kind of relief that they want to get.
Health professionals estimate between 20 and 25% of people who are prescribed opiates end up with opioid use disorders, which include full-blown addiction. Garland says there are pain management alternatives, including those that I have tried. But even if they are going to work for you, it doesn't mean you'll have access to them or that your health insurance is going to cover them. Garland's research has focused on using mindfulness and meditation to address chronic pain. He says negative emotions that correspond with pain can make it more intense.
They turn up the volume of our pain and make pain hurt worse. And so there's a real need for therapies like mindfulness that can train the mind to be less emotionally reactive to pain, and that can actually turn down the volume of the pain in the brain.
One person who has used the mindfulness model is Dan Kruger, a professional motorcycle racer. He has suffered chronic pain for decades and been dependent on opiates, due in part to numerous injuries sustained on the racetrack. He worked with Garland, practiced meditation, and 3 years into therapy, he says things are much better.
My chronic pain is 25% less than it was while I was on opioids. So my chronic pain is lower. I have it. I have it right now as I speak to you, but it is absolutely manageable.
On the other hand, there are some patients who have relied on long-term use of opiates with minimal side effects. Some patients with chronic pain have formed a lobbying group called Don't Punish Pain to rally against new restrictions on opioid use. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The CEO of San Diego Youth Services is cycling down California and into retirement. Katie Heisen says he's calling it one more adventure to raise money for San Diego's largest provider of homeless youth services.
Walter Phillips is 66 years old, preparing to cycle 100 miles a day from San Francisco to San Diego.
I don't ride as I once did as a young man, but I don't really focus on that because any challenge that I'm facing pales in comparison to what a young person faces on the streets every night when they don't know where they're going to sleep, where they're going to get their next meal, if somebody's going to love them.
His social work career has been a kind of endurance sport, too, with the last 25 years at San Diego Youth Services. When he started,
youth homelessness was invisible. People didn't recognize it. People didn't want to believe that in America's finest city, we actually have kids who don't have a place to stay.
He says there's more awareness now. Still, close to 2,000 young San Diegans don't have a safe place to sleep every night. Almost half are LGBTQ+. Phillips retires at the end of June.
You know what I honestly hope my legacy is that they don't remember me. Because the piece that we really need to make sure is focused on and will carry on is our mission.
His week-long ride kicks off Saturday. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
This weekend brings a new option for international travel in San Diego, and it comes at a time when numbers are trending down, according to state tourism officials. But as John Carroll reports, San Diego is bucking that trend.
A KPBS viewer happened to be at the right place at the right time to catch the inaugural KLM flight into San Diego. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner will offer service on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. The occasion marked by a celebration outside the KLM gate. Brass from San Diego International and KLM were all smiles.
We are very excited to offer the community of San Diego another flight option to Europe.
San Diego Regional Airport Authority President and CEO Kimberly Becker says getting KLM here has been a years-long process. She's not worried about the sinking international travel statistics when it comes to San Diego.
There's a lot of business connectivity between San Diego and the Netherlands, and then there's a lot of business connectivity between there and San Diego. And so that will really help support the flight. And then, of course, the tourism, that we've got two beautiful destinations that people enjoy going to.
We see a little bit of decline to the U.S., but a bigger increase from the U.S. to Europe.
KLM joins British Airways, Lufthansa, Japan Airlines, and Air Canada as the fifth international airline serving San Diego. Kimberly Becker says our region is attractive to foreign airlines.
With all the direct flights we have to international destinations, what it does is it really opens up the world to San Diego and San Diego to the world. And with that connectivity, we can reach just about any part of the world through the flights that we have or are about to receive.
KLM is the oldest airline in the world. It's been flying for the last 105 years. Boss Browns says bookings are strong for San Diego, and he says the airline may very well expand service if that remains the case. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We hope that you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Thanks for joining us.